He's on. They're on. If anybody would like to speak on any issues tonight, there's a sign-in sheet over here.
If you'd like to speak, this gentleman here, Mr. Pat Lynch.
Shot your head from waiting for a birthday or what?
Right here, sir. How you doing, Ronnie? I'm doing good. Good. You get scared, you know what? That's right.
Hello, how are you? See you again. I'm sure it won't be the last time. Yeah, I'm gonna speak anyway. Do I need a phone or what's it?
Just for references here, these are the accessory structure stuff. And, where it says setbacks, that's the operative paragraph there.
Did you get my email asking for the parking thing?
Yes, I did. I'll get it to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I apologize for,
No hurry.
okay.
I just.
All right.
Yeah, we got an extra one.
Okay, we're ready. All right. All right, it is 6 p.m. Call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. Commissioner Leo, would you mind reading the statement of purpose, please?
Okay. May our decisions today be made with wisdom, careful deliberation, and in the best interest of the city of Diamondhead. May we display patience and kindness in our dealings with each other and all who are in attendance, and make any decisions made today promote the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Diamondhead and the enhancement of the city as a whole.
Commissioner Bauer, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Rubel.
Here.
Commissioner Lowe. Bauer, I'm sorry.
here. Quite all right.
Commissioner Torgerson. Commissioner Hector. Commissioner Lael.
Here.
Present. All right, confirmation or adjustments to the agenda? Do we have any? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as it's set.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, approval of minutes for October 27th, 2020. Can I get a motion on that?
I so move.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, new business.
Mhm.
Ms. Athena Zwanos has filed an application requesting a variance from the zoning ordinance, Article 4.18 Delta 2 Foxtrot Municode, to allow the placement of an existing shed 9 foot by 15 foot without a permit extending beyond the front facade of the house facing Banyan Street. The shed is 25 feet from the property line on Banyan. The lot is a corner lot having 2 front yard setbacks on Banyan Street and Diamondhead Drive North. The property address is 63732 Diamondhead Drive North. The tax parcel number is 068 Romeo-3-41-037.000. The legal description is Diamondhead Subdivision Phase 1, Amended Unit 2, and Block 2, Lot 12. The property is located in an R2 zoning district. Derek, can you explain how we got here?
I will. I know it's a little bit unusual for me to speak first, but there were some questions as to how we got here procedurally, and I just wanted to shed some light on it. The shed, I believe, was erected in approximately March, sometime in March of this year, at which time it was brought to the attention of Mr. Jones, building official, that there were concerns as to whether it was within the proper location and if it met the requirements of the ordinance. Mr. Jones contacted the owners and requested that they file for a variance and a permit to locate this accessory structure where they had located it. No action was taken, and therefore Mr. Jones was then required to issue a citation summons to Ms. Wanos. So she had to appear in municipal court, and I'm a municipal court prosecutor, so I met with her several months ago, at which time I expressed to her her options at that point. These are typically not criminal matters, but sometimes the city is forced to get folks' attention and sometimes issue citation summons. And I expressed to her, and she agreed that the proper place for this is before the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation from you all to consider their variance application, and then ultimately for the City Council to weigh in and they make the decision. So Ms. Wanos did agree to file the variance application, which she did in a timely fashion, and the citation summons in the case that was pending against her in municipal court was passed to the files. So that's why it took a little time. There were some delays in court due to COVID. As you guys are aware, we didn't have court for several months during COVID. So that's the procedural history. I just thought maybe that would help shed some light on how we got here. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to you, EJ.
Thank you. Mr. Jones? Caught me in glasses.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. What we're here today is concerning the location of the shed. Okay. The ordinance states that in terms of an accessory structure, it cannot be in front of the primary structure. It says explicitly it shall not be in front of the primary structure. Okay, now there are corner lots. This is a corner lot, and so that is facing Diamondhead Drive North, as well as it faces on Banyan. Okay, so you have 2 front yard setbacks, and so there's nothing unique about corner lots that not only accessory structures can't be in the front yard, even though that the actual front of the house may front on Diamondhead Drive North. There's 2 front yard setbacks required, and this explicitly says you can't extend beyond the facade of your house. Okay, so, but fences are not allowed, and then actually a structure is not allowed within that setback. So it's not only an accessory structure. Okay. And so a structure, obviously by the record and the packet that was submitted, there's pictures, and it's obviously the structure violates that section of the accessory structures. Okay, and so there's criteria that the Planning Commission must weigh of whether the applicant has met the conditions for the granting of this variance. Okay, so in your packet and even in the staff report, there's explicit criteria set forth. Now, beyond that, I want to say that my office has received 7 letters of objection. As I received them, I have sent them to each of the commissioners. So you've had a chance to actually read what was said. And so tonight, I will, those letters of objections will become a part of the record. So I will not read those letters of objections. I will state the name and the address of the people who do object. Now, if by some reason, if the commissioner wants me to read a specific objection, I have them in the file, and I'd be glad to do that. But the 7 are Ernie Knobloch at 747 Monoholahui Drive, John Campbell, 73642 Diamondhead Drive North, Christy Cosby, 637 Banyan Street, Patricia Terry, 6370 Diamondhead Drive North, Henry Stout, 632 Banyan Street, Jeffrey McLean, 636 Banyan Street, and Thomas Nichols at 63733 Diamondhead Drive North. So those are a part of the record. Now, let me say this, it's possible there are people who say they want to speak, and they may already have filed a letter of objection. And so if that person wants to read again and state their objections that they've written down, I believe that would be acceptable. So with that, does any of the commissioners have any specific questions for me?
Yes, do I understand properly, they had a smaller shed there and then they built a bigger one?
There was a smaller shed there. I don't know the time frame, but I do remember one. And then I don't believe they actually built one. I believe it was purchased and set there.
I see.
Yes.
I read someplace that it was grandfathered in. I can't remember who said that, but from what I understand, 5 years ago when they purchased the property, there was no shed there. That's why I was confused.
Well, I'm sorry to say I can't speak of dates,
Okay.
but if a shed was there at the time of the creation of the city, and the adopting of the zoning ordinance in October 2012, it would be grandfathered in. However, if say a shed was there and it's removed and another one brought in, there's no grandfathering.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Clarify that for me. Grandfather, we don't know what grandfather is. It'll
A legal non-conforming use, correct. It would be a legal non-conforming use. And that you would lose that provision if you removed it, or it got destroyed, or you would lose the legal status of it.
Replace it with the exact same item, like you said.
Sir?
Even if you replace it with exactly the same item,
Mhm.
it would still have to come in for a variance.
Correct, yes,
Like if you had a fence that was non-conforming.
exactly,
and then-
correct.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
and if you're gonna replace it, yeah.
that's right, it's
Okay.
exactly right, yes.
Excuse me, when was a permit received for this?
There was never no permit
No,
received.
never, okay.
I have a question. Was this built, or is this one that you purchased and it's set there? Is that something I should hold off until the people?
I believe it was purchased, but you could ask the
Yeah.
applicant when she comes up.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant, Ms. Zwanos, here this evening?
I am.
Oh, okay, great.
Uh-huh.
Can you come up, please? Yes.
How you doing? All right. So, I guess, we're here because of the shed. There was a shed there already. We actually put that in 5 years ago, whenever we moved in.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was not grandfathered in, but I did get a permit from the POA for it. We removed that shed and put a different shed there.
Mhm.
Not knowing that I had to get a permit for that, which I did talk to the POA, but, everything between the city and POA, it's crazy. You gotta get one permit here, one permit there. I did put a shed there, and I did ask Mr. Ron Jones if we could do the shed or a fence. At first, we were starting with the fence. I wanted to build a privacy fence. I'm sorry, this gets me emotional. I don't have an issue with any of my neighbors, okay, except for one which is right on side of me. I put it there for privacy. From them yelling at my kids, they call the cops on me all the time. It's very emotional. I'm just an emotional wreck right now, but I have police reports, guns being pulled out on us. I have so many police reports from these people that they're making my life a living hell living there. And that's why I put the shed there. It's for the safety of my family.
Well, wouldn't it be just as safe in the backyard?
No,
as
ma'am,
it is? Huh?
because the way that their porch is set up, which they sit on their porch day in, day out, and they watch us pull in the driveway, the wife yells at my kids, she yells at me. She came in my yard one time and banged on my door and had the kids, told them that we're white trash and they need to clean up the yard. Yeah, I called the police on that. I told them, I said, you have 5 minutes to get to my house because I'm that mad. The safety of my children come first. And I asked to put a fence up. He told me I had to come and sit up here. I didn't feel paying $100 to come sit up here for the safety of my kids and myself. I have somebody here with me that is the one that they pulled the gun out on. She's here. And it's not right that, I felt that because of me having to pay $100 to put a fence up, I was like, you know what, let's just move this shed and put a different shed there. It blocks the privacy. They have 5 dogs that bark day in, day out. They leave their dogs outside.
Ms. Zwanos?
Yes,
Can I calm down?
okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
We're not a legal board.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So, my question to you is there a reason other than that you couldn't put it in the backyard?
No, I
Or
wanted
at
the
least
privacy
beside
from
the-
them.
Okay,
That's what I wanted, the
Okay.
privacy from them.
all right.
Do you have a copy of those police reports?
I
and
do,
things like that?
yes, ma'am.
You probably should give them to our attorney.
Do you want me to give it to you?
No, you can give them to the attorney.
Oh, okay. This is the one with the gun being pulled out.
Mhm.
Okay.
And there's multiple other that I can get from the city and bring it back to you guys if you'd like.
Was this, yeah, I do have a question. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go for it. No.
Was this building purchased, already built, and they set it there, or did someone come in and build this?
It was purchased and just sat there.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It was purchased and just sat, because we removed the other one. It was kind of, not really like stable looking shed, so we removed that one and put that one there
Okay.
as a privacy barrier from them.
But you also have a fence, is that correct?
I have a fence in the backyard, so it doesn't,
It's not on the side.
right. So I wanted to do the privacy fence straight down the middle of our properties and go to the road, kind of, not all the way to the road on Banyan, but a little bit back where I could. And then that's when I was like, you know what, let's just pick up this shed, because we already had a shed there, and put a different one there to keep that privacy up. So I didn't think, I had to, come and deal with all of this, but, I mean, I'm sorry, the safety of my family comes first.
Well, is the gentleman that you're concerned about here?
Yes, he is.
Okay, talk to him later.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Thank you.
All right, is this all? Everyone on this list is? Mr. Flowers? Were you gonna speak on this? Not on that. Okay. It's all mixed together, that's why.
You probably should call the,
Mr. Ronald Daughtery, are you gonna speak on this issue? Okay.
uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying that, I don't know who the next one is.
Oh, okay.
You probably should talk to him.
Can you state your name and address?
Ronald Daughtery, 63736 Diamondhead Drive North. I'm directly across the street, and all I can say is that since the shed has been put up, the dogs from the neighbors have decreased tremendously. I don't complain about the dogs, I have a dog, but their dogs do bark a lot. I haven't approached them for the dogs, but they bark constantly. And I live directly across the street, on a corner lot. I don't see anything wrong with the garage, or shed. It has improved my life tremendously, because the dogs do not bark half as much as they used to bark. They can't walk out their door without the dogs barking. This building has stopped that until the dogs see them pass the building, which is they're getting in their car, leaving, going to work, whatever. But that building has made a big difference in our lives. The dogs bark constantly, and there's not one, there's like 5. There's German Shepherds, they bark loud. I hear them at 5:30 in the morning, every morning. And I don't complain, because I have a dog. But for them to be rude to their neighbors, if a fire or something was to happen, those people would run and help. They're not bad neighbors. That's really all I can really say. I've been living in the house for 2 years. The dogs have barked every day since I've renovated the house to today. So really, I don't have an objection to the shed being there, because it makes my life peaceful. And whether or not they get along in the future, that's up to them. I wish they would come together as neighbors. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully this might solve that problem. Maybe they need to come together and be neighbors and talk to one another instead of shouting at each other. I hear that too. So I'm in favor of the shed or a fence. From what I understand, they wanted to put up a fence. A fence would be fine too. If y'all don't want the shed, let them put a fence. Anything to stop the noise and the aggravation of the police coming every so often for a complaint, that's really unnecessary. As a neighbor, I'm a neighbor. I don't fight with any of them. I don't argue with any of them. I like my neighbors, all of them. But this is just a little out of hand to me. That's all I really got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Daughter.
You're welcome.
All right. I'll remind everyone, we have 3 minutes to speak, so. Ms. McKnight, did you have, oh, another one? Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Theonis, are you here for, I'm sorry, Terry, is it Terry? I couldn't hardly see it. Can you state your name and address, please?
Terry Tennis, 63732 Diamondhead Drive North. Me and Athena are a couple. So, like she said, the neighbors, our dogs are always barking. We had a shed there. We put another shed to block their privacy, to get privacy from them guys and stuff. They say stuff to us. We try not to intertwine and I hate conflict. So I go in the house or whatever, It just, we asked to put a privacy fence up. They said no because it's a front of a house.
Mm-hmm.
Our address is 63732 Diamondhead Drive North. That's a side street. That's a side of my home. You don't have 2 front of the houses. There's no such thing. You ask anybody. There's, Tommy's got a shed that if he lives on a corner street, he's got a fence that goes out towards the road past the front of his house then. Mr. Ronnie's got a fence that goes past the front of his house.
Okay.
Everybody's got side houses. That's the side of your house, not the front of the house. So, I don't know why it's a big deal that we wanted a fence, but you guys said no, so that's why we put the shed there, or a shed where we had a shed. But you guys are more, not you guys, they're more worried about money than they are about somebody's safety. When somebody pulls a gun on you and you're outside, who says they're not going to do it to your kids? The police report shows that they pulled a gun on us. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to let my kids go outside. Here, this way they can't see us, so they can't shoot through nothing. It's just for the safety of our kids. And everybody bitches when you got something sitting outside, a mower or whatever. Well, this shed holds my mower. So, and because you can't have stuff sitting outside. They've had vehicles out sitting outside, 2 motorcycles sitting there for 5 years since we lived there, never moved. Nobody says nothing to them. So that's it. Is that 3 minutes?
Yes, thank
All
you. Karen Rayner, are you here for the, okay. All right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Rayner. I actually serve on the POA board as treasurer, and I've been friends with Athena and Terry ever since I moved to Diamondhead. I've been there. I was there. I was one of the people that I had the gun and the laser pointed at me. Cops did nothing. There was, nothing else we can do. I have witnessed some of the other people that are here with Wally walking up and down the street, making comments. Look at this crap. Look at what they're doing now. They have actually taken their house, which if you wanted to look at it when they bought it, and they have turned it into a much more aesthetically pleasing home on that corner of Diamondhead Drive North. But it's been constant harassment. I have been there when the kids are harassed. Those kids, somebody called DHS, accusing them of being drug dealers. Why? Because they're ticked off about dogs barking. Athena went the right route. She went through the POA, filed a complaint. POA, they send fines and letters and things of that nature, and it just kept escalating and escalating and escalating. So when they already had a permitted shed on their property that needed to be replaced, they just went and bought another one and stuck it in the same spot.
I thought they said it wasn't permitted.
The original one that was there was permitted by the POA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, that's the little bit of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
They are good people. If something did happen to their neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
Terry was out there when their neighbor's tree fell and busted both of their cars during Zeta, okay? He went out there, he cleaned it all up. Do you think the neighbors came out and said, hey, you guys all right? Nothing. So they are peaceful people. They would help anybody, no matter what. But the harassment has to stop, and there was nobody else that was going to help, nothing else they could do except drag them through a civil matter. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. All right, sure, yeah. Please.
Hold on. Y'all need to relax. This is a hearing, okay? It's not turning into a shouting match in the audience. You got that?
If you guys need a space apart or something, please do so. Alright, what is it? You good? Okay. Sorry. All right, Mr. Walter Piper? Okay, all right, sorry. Henry Stout. Are you here for the for this? Okay, can you? Next time.
Good evening, I'm Henry Stout, I live at 632 Banyan Street, and I'm here about the shed. And as we know, the shed is not permitted, variance was requested. But the variance shouldn't constitute a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties. Granting a variance for this shed gives them a special privilege that isn't appreciated by others. And a variance could be granted if there was an unnecessary hardship if the zoning ordinance was applied. It's supposed to be granted because of the shape of the plot of land and that there's no alternative place. Well, that's not the case here. Hardship is also related to zoning. It can't be confused with economic, personal, or medical hardships. So I don't see any reason why a variance should be granted. This shed extends 20 feet beyond the front of their house, 14 feet beyond the front of mine.
Are you the neighbor?
I am the neighbor.
Okay. 20 feet.
And that's what I have to say about the shed. Now, since I was brought up again about the gun, one of their guests at one of their loud parties aimed a gun at me repeatedly and failed to respond to my warnings to knock it off and leave me alone. So, yeah, I put a beat on him. Used the least force necessary to stop and control the situation. That was done with. It was over. Dogs, I have 6, and they're not out all the time. They don't bark all the time. I take them out, they do the business, I take them in. Neighbors on the other side of me have 3 dogs that are left out all the time. People behind me have 2 dogs that are left out all the time. I do not leave my animals outside. Matter of fact, my animals even sleep with me in my bed at night. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate it. All right, Christy Cosby? Are you here? Okay. Can you state your name and address, please?
I live at 637 Banyan Street. I don't know these people personally. I don't know what all this neighbor stuff has to do with anything. The shed is an eyesore. It's in the front. I think it could bring down property values, and it just shouldn't be there. I don't know anybody hardly in Diamondhead who has a big shed in front of their yard, whether it's a side street or faces the front. So that's my complaint, to keep the neighborhood nice for resale value, and have the shed removed. It's an eyesore, and that's what I have to say.
Well, I have a question.
Ms. Cosby?
So what would you think if there was a fence behind between the property line behind the shed?
Well, I think you could still see the shed, like they said, from Diamondhead North.
No, I meant replace the shed and have a fence put up instead of a shed.
I think that would be great. It'd give them
You-
both some privacy. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
an issue with the fence, but the
That's my
shed
question.
is an eyesore.
Yeah.
It's a metal shed, and, I mean, I understand they probably need it. They have a 2-car garage. They have a yard. Well, a garage,
Yeah.
but they have a yard and all, and, you know, I just think it would look a lot nicer to take an ugly metal shed and put it in your backyard, like most neighbors do.
But you don't think a fence would have the same detraction as what this?
No, I don't think so at all. If they built a fence, I wouldn't bother me.
Okay, that's my question.
Thank you.
Can I say something? We were, since this fence, thing was
Can-
going on, since we.
Can you come up here, please?
It actually gets recorded, that's.
You know, I resided my house here about a year and a half ago, and I'm still working on it. The shed is gonna be this, you know, you said it was an eyesore, and I understand that. I don't like the looks of it either. But that shed is gonna be sided the same as our house. That's where my intentions were, but I ain't doing it until I know we get it finished, cause I ain't gonna spend the money on it. You know what I mean? So it ain't gonna be an eyesore.
We are planning on making it look exactly like the house.
Right. So that is, I understand where you're coming from, and I totally agree with you. I don't like the looks of it either.
So,
But I didn't want to put all that siding on it, and then all of a sudden have to remove it.
yeah. Ms. Swanos, would you be opposed to putting it in the backyard?
I have to have some kind of privacy between us and them. So-
Hedges, I mean,
Don't have a back.
nice hedges or,
No.
No?
It needs to be up.
okay,
Because their porch is up and she sits out on her porch all day long. He might be at work, but
Okay.
she is on that porch all day long.
all right, thank you. Mr. Jones? Does anyone else want to speak? Okay, all right. That's everybody on the list. Mr. Jones?
One second, please. All right. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time here. I had to see where my notes were. Okay. All righty. As I stated earlier, there's a specific criteria that you must judge us on. And so I would like to point out that in the ordinance, it defines what a hardship is. And so I won't say everything, but a hardship as related to zoning is not to be confused with economic, personal, or medical hardships. So, based upon what is written in the application and based upon the information presented tonight by the applicant, I find no justification for granting of this variance because there's not been any substantive facts relevant to how we judge it to grant the variance. The other issues going on, I'm sorry to say, but it's not part of the criteria for it to be judged. So based upon that, my recommendation is to deny the variance request as petitioned. No special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other land structures or building in the same district. It talks about a hardship shall mean anything unusual topography, situation, or condition involving a particular property which makes it impossible for the owner to use the property in the manner prescribed for the district in the zoning ordinance. They could comply if they chose to. If they chose to put it in the backyard, they could comply. Now, notwithstanding, don't know their backyard, but they would be in a better position to have a variance granted possibly in their backyard, but because if there's in the backyard, the setbacks would be at 5 feet from the side yard. You could be 5 feet. From the rear property line, you have to be 10 feet. And then from the house, you have to be 10 feet. And then notwithstanding, you can't go beyond the front of your house. So what I'm trying to say is that they'd be in a better position for getting a variance granted than totally in front of the house. And then it was thrown out about the fence. Okay, well, based upon what Ms. Athena stated, that a 6-foot high fence is the maximum height allowed. Well, she talked about that needs something higher to block visibility. But anyway, the little interpretation of the provisions of this title will not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties. That special conditions and circumstances, if any, are a direct result from the actions of the applicant. Nothing unique. The hardship exists only where the unusual situation or condition is not created by the owner of the property. The granting of this variance request would confer on the applicant a special privilege that is denied by this title to other lands or structures and buildings in the same zoning district. The variance does not observe the spirit of the ordinance. It actually flies in the face of it. And in essence, it would change the character of the district and set a precedent for other accessory structures and front yard setback requirements. The spirit would not observe the spirit of the comprehensive plan either in terms of its intent. And then lastly, the variance requested will not result in any change of use or density of the subject property. So, based upon the criteria I've just went over, there's the opinion of the staff. There's nothing that the Planning Commission can hang their hat on to grant. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
They did say that, had they applied for a fence and it had been denied because of the variance of that lot?
That was a oral conversation. No application was never applied for. They did talk about a fence, but in essence, they wanted to bring out a fence farther, that is allowed. And so in essence, I told them that it's no person has ever asked for such a variance, and that let's see, this conversation been a long time ago, but the success of it would probably be a failure, getting created. And then when I mentioned about the cost of the variance application, it was mentioned that we were just concerned about money, and that if we didn't get a refund, we didn't want to apply. So it fell on its face, and so that's where we are.
So what you're saying is a fence would not be allowed to go to cover the distance from the house to the shed.
Correct.
So that would in itself require a variance.
Yes. Yes. And so So in essence, they're still in the same position as to, is what hardship is there? You know. And so, there are alternatives, but, if, to try to make something work, I think the better case, of maybe getting in something approved would be in the backyard. However, based upon testimony, that's not suitable, you know. And then, in terms of a fence, is a maximum height of 6 feet is the fence. Well, based upon Miss Athena's testimony, that's not suitable either because it needs to be higher. And so if they chose to go down a different road and say, okay, I'll ask for a fence and exceed the height of 6 feet, then that's another case for if they chose to be considered on its merits.
I did ask for a fence as well in this application for the shed. I said shed or fence. So I am willing to do the 6-foot fence. I'm fine with that. They can still see us, but they can't see my kids.
Well, how far out would it be allowed to go, Ron? Because I mean, it's already sticking out in front of the house as it is.
Well, it's the same as a shed. The fence cannot go beyond the front facade of the house. And so, you have to consider a fence, you know, a variance for that. And if the applicant, so choose to say, I want a higher fence, then that could be done, but then, we'd be back again discussing the merits of that.
Would a lattice, work that you grew ivy on be considered a fence? Or would that be considered landscaping?
Good point. And that, there's nothing in our ordinance that would prevent a property owner from planting, evergreens, shrub that would form a barrier and could be quite high and up on their property line.
What
And
about lattice with ivy growing on it? Would that be a structure, or would that be, if you would?
That would be a possibility. I'm sorry to say, I would have to ponder that a little more. But again, screen plantings, they could have it along their property line between the Stouts and them, and it could be up to their property line.
I've got ligustrums that do that. They're about 10 foot tall. They complete privacy. Miss Wanos, I mean, ligustrums. Plant them close together. I mean, it makes a great hedge. They're thick. I like it.
Take to grow.
It grew pretty quick. I mean, 9 months, a year.
This is serious. I'm you know.
I understand.
If this is your kid, how would you feel?
Can I say something to address this whole safety issue?
Quickly.
Very brief. I'm no threat to anyone. And if there's such concern for safety, why was Kurt kid out doing cheerleading practice in the front yard yesterday? Why was his kid
Okay.
walking dogs in front of my
Because
house?
I was sitting
Guys,
on the patio
this is
watching my kids.
this is about a shed. This is the personal attacks and stuff need to cease. Really.
There's no safety.
Okay.
I was outside with my
It's about a shed. Okay.
But Ron, am I?
All right. I'm sorry. Go for it.
Okay. Ron, am I wrong, but in the past, we've had a few, people come in and ask for a variance for a fence on corner lots on what was essentially their side of their house on that. And we've granted it, but there was other circumstances involved too, like they were matching up with the fence behind them. And, so we left them have a little extra space. But we have granted, extension of the fence out, not higher, but, you know,
Um,
on
The
a
one that
corner.
comes to mind, was in Holiday Village, and, they went out 5 feet from the side.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And
Well,
it, and then it, yes.
yeah.
However, though, we granted 5 feet from their house to their present lot. Then they had 4 other surrounding lots. The variance wasn't granted for that. They met the 20 feet for the 4 lots they owned.
Yeah.
And so, it's in that particular one.
Just before y'all, I know we're getting close to a point where a motion is going to be made. Just want to remind you all and the audience that this planning commission makes recommendations to the city council. Ultimately, the city council makes that decision. Whatever recommendations that you all make, the city council can examine that application report and the recommendation that you transmit to it. And the council takes further action as it deems necessary to either approve that recommendation, disapprove that recommendation, modify that recommendation, or even remand the recommendation. So I know we're talking about some other alternatives. You know, obviously you can make whatever recommendation. You can make Ron's recommendation your own, and vote to make that the recommendation to the council. You all can make whatever recommendation you want. And again, when it goes to the city council, they can take what action that they want to. So I just wanted to point that out, that we're not necessarily limited to one decision or the other here.
Thank you, Derek. Good? Everybody good? Okay. All right. Can I get a motion?
Do we discuss it first?
We'll discuss it after.
Oh, I think, okay. Thank you.
Anybody motion?
I'll make a motion that we deny the variance.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
All right. Commissioner Wyatt, do you have anything to add to it?
Not really. The problem, I think, is the fact that the same rules apply to a side yard as a front yard when it's a corner lot. That seems to be the biggest problem. And I know. Sure.
Sir, it's up to you, EJ.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's easier to
I'm
listen.
sorry, but I'm listening to all of this and I'm getting a little bit aggravated.
Mhm.
There's houses that have sheds in their yards
Mhm.
that are way bigger than this shed. This house is unique in its own way.
Mhm.
To have 2 front yards, for me, is hard to understand.
All right.
There's a side street and there's a main street.
Mhm.
They wanted to put up a fence. I don't know if it's approvable or not. It may not be a 6-foot-high fence, but I have a picket fence. It's this high.
Mhm.
Why can't these people put a fence up to help protect their property, beautify the property, like I did on my house? I don't understand why people have a problem with people improving their property. And a fence is not an eyesore unless it's fallen, if it's old. A new fence is not an eyesore. I see fences all around Diamondhead, and I had my problems with fences in the past, with Mr. Jones. And we worked out our problems. Love Mr. Jones. This issue here is, to me, just getting way out of proportion. This is a unique house
Okay.
that sits on a corner lot.
All right. Thank you,
And
Mr. Daugherty.
I just don't understand why we can't put a fence up or something, come
appreciate
up
your
with some
input.
kind of agreement.
Yes, sir. Appreciate your input. Thank you. Now, okay, so,
We have a motion and
all right.
he feels that we're making a motion just on the shed, and that the fence has not been considered. So how is that falling through the cracks? That if the fence actually was in the request,
Well,
either or, we
I-
haven't really discussed that.
I guess we could ask Mr. Bauer to clarify, but his motion was to deny the variance, and the variance was a request for either the shed or the fence. So Mr. Bauer can either clarify or have his motion stand on its own.
My motion stands as I said, for the fence in the
Okay.
shed, but, you know, we're
I don't
discussing
see
it
this.
right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know the house right across the street, and it does have a smaller picket fence. That's not gonna do them any good. I don't know, have we granted a variance for a 6-foot fence? On a corner, it sounds like only going out 5 feet, which this shed is way beyond 5 feet from the house.
Yeah, we have to come out quite a ways.
Was there a plan for the fence? Did you plan how far out you were gonna take the fence, anything like that?
I can't remember what the initial was when I spoke to Mr. Jones first. At least, it needs to be at least 20 feet. Because their porch is right there where you can directly look in my driveway. And you can see inside of if I showed you, I have a plan, if you guys wanna see it, of how the house is. And I can show you where they sit and where they look in my driveway.
Okay.
How would you know if my kids were out doing cheerleading, you weren't looking in the driveway?
Alright,
If it,
I don't have a problem with kids playing in their yard, doing exercise.
Okay, we'll get-
okay, thank you.
if the fence, if we give them a 20-foot, not 20 feet, I mean, I bet the house isn't set back that far on that side.
Well, what does it do for the shed though?
Well, we have
The
to.
shed would still have to go.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds to me like something that needs to be addressed with landscaping.
Yeah.
Well, I think so,
That's probably
too.
the,
I can get
because
the
you can make,
dimensions, like and I promise, I'll make the fence look cute, I'll paint it, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but please do not let me not have something there, I'm begging you.
the fence would essentially go out almost to the road if you do really good. So that's something I don't think,
Yeah, but the shed doesn't go
I'm
up.
going to agree to.
Okay.
Motion still stands.
Second still
Of course,
If I can come back, I'll clean up.
Yeah, I agree, I think the
If I
fence,
can just get the dimensions of the fence, and then,
I think
you
the
know,
fence
I'll
would
do
work.
the lattice or whatever you guys want me to do
Yeah,
on
well,
that fence,
she can take that to the city
I'm
council.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
can let her take it to city
Yeah,
council with
that's
her
probably
plan.
not a bad
Okay.
idea.
Alright,
Mhm.
so we're still going forward?
Look,
Okay,
As long as Sue was on seconding what I had proposed.
still
Right.
good? Okay,
Yeah, I think, I'd second the fence,
Okay.
as long as it doesn't go, you're not gonna go all the way to the street, are you?
Wait,
No.
wait.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Wait a
whoa,
minute,
whoa,
we're
whoa,
not-
whoa, whoa.
I think-
Sue's not seconding what I.
alright,
I'm sorry.
can you please
You repeat.
repeat your
Oh.
motion,
My
please?
motion was, to let it stand for the fence or the building, neither one, no variance for either, anything.
Oh, okay.
Is that really what you
Oh,
were
I see.
seconding?
But
Not really, I think the fence would work.
That's okay, it's just.
Mm-hmm.
But I think,
I
I
would
think,
do
Grant,
that.
I think the caveat to that was, which is, what it sets forth in the ordinance is that the applicant is not barred from bringing up the fence issue to
Right.
the city council.
Right.
If they have a plan at that point,
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah.
in addition to what they're doing, but as it sits now, we
Yeah.
don't have that before us. All we have, we have the shed and we have an idea of a fence, but no dimensions, no
Right.
anything else.
Okay.
So the recommendation is to deny, but of course, the applicant can, and the city council can modify it in any way they choose.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you good with your second still?
What?
You good with your second?
Yeah, as long as they can.
Okay.
make an
Wait a
application.
minute. As long as they could.
As
Oh,
long
okay,
as
that's
they
what
move
you said. I
forward
didn't
with
hear.
fence.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got my mask on.
I don't hear very good. All right,
Good.
please take it.
There's nothing prohibiting them from bringing that,
Present to the council? Okay.
presenting that to the council.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ms. Swanos, just keep in mind, we're just a sounding board to the council. The council will, it's not on here. When's the council meeting?
17.
Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday. So this coming Tuesday, the city council will address your variance. And
For the fence.
For the fence and the shed. Both?
Do I need to come back here?
yes, it might be good for you.
Bring a plan for the fence.
Yes, definitely bring a plan for the fence. Is that it?
I would recommend that you really seriously consider a landscaping alternative. I have wonderful neighbors, so I'm very blessed, but the same token, if you plant arborvitae or the type of shrub he's talking about, arborvitae will grow very quickly, it's a very thick, and it's
Looks good.
beautiful.
Smells good too.
Yeah, and I mean, they'll grow 20 feet high in less than 5 years, okay? So they grow very quickly. Well, I mean, if you plant them close together, they'll even grow faster. So there are alternatives. So I'm not saying the city council is going to agree with us or not, okay? I'm simply saying, keep that in mind as an alternative, okay? As well as the lattice, talk to Ron about that.
I thought about all of the gardens, you know, the bushes and the
Yes.
trees. I was even gonna buy the fastest growing tree made in China or whatever it's
Okay.
from. My sister has them. But it's not fast enough.
I get it.
Understand.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Swanas.
Thank you.
And everyone else. All right, item 4, or item 2, actually. Feels like item 4. All right, Miss Mary Ellen Jones has filed an application requesting a variance from the zoning ordinance, Article 9.8 Juliet, to replace a 6-foot wood privacy fence on the front property line along Lay Court and extending beyond the front facade of her house within the 20-foot yard setback area. The property address is 790 Lay Court. The tax parcel number is 067 Romeo-2-36-161.000. The legal description is Diamondhead subdivision, Phase 2, Unit 3, Block 2, lots 59 and 60. The property is located in an R2 zoning district. The fence is required to be set back 20 foot from the property line, but not any closer to the facade of the house. All right, Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Commissioners. All righty. What we have here is that we have a fence that is on the property line, it's on a corner lot, and it's an existing non-conforming fence. And so as I understand it from Ms. Jones, that she purchased the property just like it is. All righty? It's my further understanding that there was a garden in that area that within her front yard there. And so it was already there when she bought the property. And so she came to the department saying she needed to totally rebuild the fence. And then with a non-conforming fence, if you remove it, then you got to comply. And so that's why we're here today, was because she actually came in and wanted to rebuild her fence. All righty. And so I did go on to further ask her about, in her application, she stated that this was the sunniest part of her yard and growing the garden that she has. And that also the fence protects her from the deer eating her bounty. And so I think we can all relate to that. And then I went on to ask her, I said, have you planted any more trees in the backyard or whatever that would create more shade? And she said no. And so what I'm trying to relate to you is that she bought the property as is. And that there was already a fence there. There was already a garden there. And that she hasn't done anything of her own to make, as I understand from her, she hasn't done anything on her own to create further hardship. You know, she created a hardship. So that's where we are. is that to allow the fence to go back where it was. And there, excuse me one second. I have, okay, I have given you this, and that there was a petition that was signed, and from the neighbors, and there were 14 signatures on this petition, and they all in agreement that and support Miss Jones having this fence back in the same place. And so she's also on a corner lot, and so
Yard a couple times, and you called it the front yard a couple times.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
Lord
said
have
about the
mercy.
tree. Yeah. Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Well, it's really, everything's behind the house.
Yes, okay.
It's behind the house, but it's on.
God, I'm sorry. I'm glad you caught that. I like, duh.
Ron never
Gosh.
gets confused.
Slide, you know.
Oh, okay. So this is where we are, and that we have 14 people in the neighborhood that does support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Well, then there's also nobody opposing it either.
Correct. Yes, there's nobody opposing it. Yes.
That
Not yet,
helps.
not yet.
That might be why Mr. Flowers is here. All right. Miss Jones, would you mind coming up? Absolutely. There you go.
Just before we start, I just want to show you my garden, okay? And this is the corner of the fence. So if I can't put it there, I can't have a garden. I also have an above ground garden that is right on the other side of this.
Nice.
And it's been there and it's can't be moved. So what essentially happens if I can't put my fence back where it was, then I can garden. Because the rest of the yard is too shady. And outside,
Hurricane blow it down?
Oh, yes. And I do want to say she is this sweet gardening lady, like she's appearing. There are other points that she really should be making. For one thing, the fence was erected prior to the city's incorporation. It was there when she purchased it in 2013. On the statement, it said that the front facade of her house, that the fence is extended beyond. It is not. Her house faces Hilo Way. The only thing that faces on the Lay Court is actually her driveway. And there is a portion of the fence that extends flush with the side of her house, probably almost 20 feet. But then there's about 23 feet that come towards the road. The fence that's existing is already 20 feet off of the street. And so what they're essentially trying to say is that they want her to move her fence 43 feet off of the street into her backyard. She has a double lot. It's already been consolidated, beautiful, Southern living aesthetic. I mean, it's probably one of the prettiest in Diamondhead, and I'm being objective when I say that honestly. And it would not cause an eyesore. If anything, it would be beautiful. And thanks to Hurricane Zeta, a repair is going to be necessary anyway. So it's not essentially replacing the entire fence. We're looking at a repair, or it's going to be a horrible eyesore. And every single neighbor that lives around her, and there's actually, I counted, there's probably more like 24 names on this list. They are in an uproar that anybody would keep her from making her yard the way that it looks right now.
She must feed them all.
You know what, she kept saying, but my garden. I said, Mama, that's more to this than your garden. I said, you're losing 43 feet of your whole entire side, her whole backyard. So it essentially is cutting her backyard in half which is going to look deplorable from the street, if you would like to know. It's going to look like a grassy parking lot or something. So to keep the aesthetic appeal and to keep it looking the way that it is, at this point, a repair is needed. So if that is the process that we need to actually state repair, if it's not repaired, it's going to be an eyesore. She'll be receiving letters that it's an eyesore to the city of Diamondhead. And I can assure you that any fence that is repaired and put on that property will be beautiful and probably one of the best qualities that you can buy, because her house and the curb appeal is probably, besides for church, is probably one of the top 5 priorities in her life. So I just wanted to point that out, that it is not the front facade. It is the driveway, and I know that everybody's trying to say the side of the house, the driveway is also a facade, but you're talking about moving a fence 43 feet off of a street into her backyard, thus cutting her backyard substantially, because the lot is gorgeous, and that's probably the biggest selling point when she bought this lot. It is beautiful. And the front yard it's nice, and it's a corner, and she has all of that landscaped as well. All right? And thankfully, everyone here is speaking in support of her, so you don't have to worry about anything. All right.
Commissioner Lay? Commissioner Lay, you have any questions?
It is beautiful. She takes great pride in her yard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's fence laying every which way at the moment, and she wants it to look nicer, was the whole point of her wanting to repair and make the fence look nicer. And she is the type of person, she wants to follow the protocol to a T. And so, which is a wonderful trait, and I'm very proud of her as my mother, because you couldn't ask for anyone better, I'm being honest. And, but sometimes I think that people don't always, they might misconstrue what she's saying, like, I just want to fix this fence because of my garden. And that is true, but also it is going to make it look deplorable if she moves that fence back 43 feet into her yard, thus cutting her property almost in half. So. I'll get my mask.
Commissioner Rubar, you have any questions? Commissioner Bauer?
No questions.
Thank
Yes,
y'all.
I've driven by it as well, and it is beautiful.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
All right, public comment, Mr. Flowers. How's your garden?
I'm Dave Flowers, 7922 Lady Court. I live basically across the street from Miss Jones, and I just second everything that was said by Miss McKnight there. Her yard is beautiful. The fence should be where it is. It's not. Basically, I just agree with putting it back where it was. So that's really all I wanted to say. I think my support was conveyed in the petition that we signed. But I just wanted to make sure that I was present tonight so I could verbalize it if need be. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Flowers.
Good to go.
All right, Ms. McKnight, did you you were already, you good? Okay. Mr. Walter Piper?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was surprised when I heard about this, and I said, you know, you try to be a good citizen of the United States, and sometimes you just get beat down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you beat on a senior, you got to be careful, because they're the most dangerous thing that we got in this country. And I want to stand up for Mrs. Jones and say that I really don't know how it happened, because if you went back to school and you had to learn the English language and you were taught English from an English teacher, one of the words that a lot of people come up with, and hard to remember something, is the word asinine. And this, I believe, was asinine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Jones?
My recommendation is to approve this variance as petition, based upon the following information. It is a unique lot too in terms of it's a consolidated lot. Based upon the Hancock County Juror Portal, this house was built in 1990. And so probably sometime, as stated, before the incorporation of the city in 2012, it probably had a fence. All righty. And the garden has already been established there, as I stated earlier. One of the unique parts of this request is that if you're going to have a garden, you need to protect it from the deer, And one unique thing is that based upon the statements, this is the sunniest place on our property. And so if you're going to have a bountiful garden, you need sunshine. Mm-hmm. And so it appears that she truly enjoys gardening. And so Miss Jones, as stated earlier, did not build the fence. It was already there. And that, as I stated earlier, the trees were in the backyard, were already established, so she hasn't created any type of hardship there. The variance would observe the spirit of the ordinance in terms of this particular case, and would not change the character of the neighborhood. And then also, this will not result in any change in the use or density in the area. And so I strongly support the granting of this variance. Thank you.
I have a question, just because it's, the fence is there and it just fell down, right? So all she's doing is repairing her fence. So does she even really need to apply?
That's what I was wondering.
For this? This seems to me that she's just repairing her fence.
Yeah, initially, the application actually predated the storm. So
It's just to repair the fence?
my understanding was that it was going to be replacing it, Ron, or?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so in any event, when there's a major repair or replacing of a condition that it is a non-conforming pre-existing condition, it does lose its grandfather status at that point. I know we throw around the word grandfather status, but it does lose it and requires a variance application.
So regardless, okay, gotcha. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, can I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All right, so Commissioner Lael, do you have anything to add? Commissioner Rubar?
I'm a gardener.
Commissioner Warren?
No
Commissioner
questions,
Bauer?
I'm happy.
All right. Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So the next city council meeting is this coming Tuesday, and they will be the deciding factor on this. Thank you. Our next meeting, our next planning and zoning meeting is December 8th. Yes. Any unfinished business? Nope. All right. Public comments to non-agenda items. Anybody want to say anything else? All right. Anybody, commissioners' comments up here? Anybody? No? Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening.
Mr. Officer.
John Luther.
John, is there really that much action going on between those two houses? The police going there that often?
Part-time now.
Okay.
I personally am not aware of any reports.
Yeah.
That was over the
And of
top.
course, you never know. I mean, I'm certainly disappointed the comments made that there was nothing being done by the police department. But again, I don't have any of the details. But I know, listening to the conversation, there is other relief that she could have sought. You know, the allegations are filed.
I'm fine. How you doing? All right. I
I
didn't know if you remembered me or not.
And again, I'm not positive.
Tell Steve I said hi.
I think the law is for, I can't remember the terminology, puppy farm or something like that. I think it might, Terry, off the top, how many animals can a household have? 6.
They are at their limit.
Beyond that, it becomes.
The bad part about that was he sleeps with the dogs. Come on, man. Come on, huh?
I mean, we all have our unique
Whoa.
characteristics.
John, did you come back to work?
Just part-time.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm just working 16 hours a week, so.
Okay, I thought maybe,
Not-
I see you more than that.
Yeah, I'm not taking calls or
Oh,
anything
okay.
like that. Really, what I'm doing is I'll be here during the council meetings.
Okay.
And I'm gonna bail for city court for the most part.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then I'll ride around.
Yeah. Do you serve